You lead off with your first chapter, the class factor, and you say right up top, note to Reverend Jesse Jackson, sorry, Jesse, you're wrong. Racism gets all the ink, but the heart of America's somewhat unfair social setup is class, not race. This fact might cut into your power base, but it's true.
Absolutely. African Americans are probably the biggest victims of the class situation we have in America today, and it's not because of the color of their skin anymore. Yes, there are bigots. Yes, there are narrow-minded people, but they're very, very few, in my opinion. But all of us in the working class are subjected to punitive taxes, being ignored by the elite media, not getting any kind of special interest help in Washington like the fat cats get. We're all in that same boat, no matter what color we are, and that's the real problem right now, I believe, not race. I'm not diminishing the race problem, but I don't think it's as intense as the class problem.
I'll bring it up again because I see the name Jesse Jackson often here, and a couple pages later you say, ridiculous note. Jesse Jackson, who likes to call himself a creative capitalist, has four not-for-profit organizations, yet he does not itemize on any of his tax returns. We do get some very interesting hints, however. His Rainbow Push organization reported $1.5 million in travel and convention expenses in 1 year alone. Who got that money? Which averages an astronomical $3,500 a day, and you go on to question the money. Why do you pinpoint Jesse Jackson so much?
Well, because I think this is a great example of somebody who has used the system to his own benefit. Now, Reverend Jackson, by his own admission, is a millionaire. He has no job. He works at CNN, I guess, once a week, but that doesn't pay him very much. And I think Americans have an obligation to demand that people getting money from the government, and I don't know whether you remember this, Mr. Lamb, but Alexis Herman in the Carter administration funneled over millions of dollars to Jackson's entities. Also, he gets tax-free status. And we don't know where his money is. He has not been audited since 1982. And at that time, the IRS found him to be $1 million light. And he was penalized about $750,000, which he paid back in 8 years with no interest. You try to get a deal like that. So I don't want any special treatment for anybody. And I think that Reverend Jackson owes his constituents and the rest of us an explanation. He files his tax returns. He does not itemize. You try that.
Trumbull, Connecticut, Democratic line for Bill O'Reilly.
Yes, I'm so glad to get on because I cannot stand Bill O'Reilly. And I hope I get this chance to say this. I like you very much, Brian. I'm so glad he's on this morning. I am African-American. I am so doggone sick and tired of you putting down our leaders, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and whoever else. You do not speak for us. Speak for your own self. Talk about some of those conservative people and yourself. You are most definitely conservative. How stupid do you think we are when you constantly get on the air every night and swear and say, oh, I'm not conservative. I'm just leave Bill Clinton alone. The man is out of office now, or just about to be. You've got all your white brothers in there now. So why don't you shut the hell up? And that stupid R&L, I can't believe she's so stupid pandering to you every night. I wouldn't buy your book if you gave it to me. Get a life, Bill O'Reilly.
All right, well, look, madam, you're entitled to your opinion. You're reacting emotionally, and you're looking at things in a black and white situation. Now, if you want to live your life that way, you go right ahead. But my job is to keep an eye on everybody. That's what I do. I put everybody under the microscope. I don't care what color they are. We have a lot of African-American viewers here at the O'Reilly Factor. We get a lot of mail from people who want honesty on all levels, and I don't report on racial politics. I report on everybody the same way.
San Antonio, Texas, a Democrat. You're on with Bill O'Reilly.
Mr. O'Reilly, I'm calling from San Antonio, and I, too, am a black person. Are you aware of a book entitled The Slaughter by Carol Chase about the U.S. Army killing over 1,000 black soldiers in a Mississippi town?
I am not aware of that book, sir.
Caller, what year were the soldiers allegedly killed?
1943.
All right, let me say something, though, to this. Let me speak to this for a minute. I'll get a look at the book, and I'm sure what you're telling me is an atrocity and should never happen. There is no question that African Americans have been treated badly in this country, okay? No question about it. But it does no good today in your life for you to dwell on that or make it a part of your thinking in the sense that it shapes your opinions. Your responsibility is to yourself and your family to have the best life you can have. You're 13% of the American population. The power is held by white men in this country. If you go against that power, you can get some satisfaction emotionally. But chances are you're going to make your life more difficult. So I say this: acknowledge the past, be angry about the past, do not accept the past. But do not let it influence how you look at the world. Be honest, be a good American. If you don't like America, then move to another country and work hard for yourself and your family. Throw off the baggage of the past because it only drags you down.
Let's go to Glen Burnie, Maryland on the Republican line for Bill O'Reilly. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Hi.
And hi, Bill. I can't believe my two favorite media people are on at the same time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
And talking to each other. Must be my lucky day. Anyway, just a question to throw at you. I can't understand this hate crimes thing. I simply, someone explain for me what is the difference between hate crime and crime.
All right, look, I get this all the time, and I'm going to make it really easy. This weekend, I want you to go out and rent Mississippi Burning, okay, which is a quasi movie with Gene Hackman. Excellent film, not really based on fact. You know, it's dramatized, but it will get the point across that certain crimes committed in this country are not pursued aggressively enough by the local authorities. That is a fact. And when that happens, if it's targeted against a group or a person because of color, because of religion, because of sexual orientation, whatever it may be, the feds have to have the power to go in and right the wrong. It's as simple as that. Watch that movie. You'll know what I'm talking about after it. I think that's the best illustration.
Glen Burnie, your response?
That after, we go through this, we pass these laws, that these local authorities, they're going to think any differently? They're going to act.
They're not going to think any differently, but it just gives people recourse to right wrongs. And I don't see any downside to this legislation. People say, oh, you're favoring one group over another. Okay, maybe that's true. So what? If we have to have a backup, a safety net to make sure justice is done, and believe me, local authorities and state authorities are going to do the right thing 90% of the time. They're going to do it 90% of the time. They're going to do the right thing. But it's the 10% that we've got to have a safety net for.
Let's go to Missouri. Is it Columbia or Columbus? Caller?
Columbus, Mississippi.
Columbus, Mississippi. I'm sorry. I got
Right where the university is, right?
That's Mississippi University for Women in Columbus. And across the way is Starkville, and that is Mississippi State University. So there. Listen, I have a, I guess, question or statement. I really respect Mr. O'Reilly. I read his book, and I listened to his show. And I must say that in times past, I have run for public office before the Mississippi House of Representatives as a Republican. And I attended the Republican National Convention in 1988 and so forth, and bought into the whole conservative Republican line. No one wanted to be a Republican more than I did. I'm a black American, and no one wanted to be a Republican more than I did. I believe in the traditional values and just about the whole hook, line, and sinker, just about everything that the Republican Party and conservatives espouse. But I have to tell you that living in Mississippi, I don't know what where you lived before. I've had J.C. Watts come down here to campaign for me and all this. You have no idea the struggle it is. I mean, you mentioned earlier that people, black Americans, should not dwell on the past and then go forward. And let me tell you, man, I tried, I preached that, and that was my. But if you live today, the critical now today, you have no idea what people go through on an everyday basis. If you're black, you got to be twice. And this is, I'm not ranting, I'm not.
Look, I understand what you're saying, and I said in my initial comments, I'm not diminishing the problem. I know it exists. There are a number of solutions to the problem, though. Number one, you can leave Mississippi, and you can go to Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or Miami or someplace else where the attitudes are a bit more tolerant. That's number one. Number two, you can see it as a challenge. You can see it as a, I mean, I'm not going to get into some of the things that I went through in my childhood, but they weren't easy, but they made me stronger, and I overcame them, and I always looked at it that way. I didn't feel sorry for myself. But for black Americans, you have to make these choices in this country. It's harder for you, no question. It's harder for you. But you can do it. It can be done. And one of the things that you have to do is develop a very thick skin and ignore a lot of the little stuff that doesn't matter. And then concentrate on the big stuff. And if you get held back because of your race, there are many, many attorneys that you should call immediately to help you. But I will say this. If you're in a situation, whether it be Mississippi or Alaska or Montana, where you believe that there is systemic discrimination against you in whatever area you're in, get out of there. Get out of there. Don't fight that battle there. Fight it somewhere else.
Wabash, Indiana, Democratic line.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lamb, for taking my call. I've been trying to get to you for probably 2 years.
Wow.
It's the first time I've got to it. And, Bill, we can't get you on our network out here in Indiana. Wish we could.
You will soon. You will soon.
My wife has read your book. I haven't, but I do know, going back to the Jesse Jackson factor, I am a 68-year-old white male, retired, but I'm also a Democrat politician in this small town. I'm, like I said, a Democrat, but what I want to know, and I have written to my senators, both Lugar and Bayh, I've written to congressmen and in Washington, what I want to know is why in the world can't the people, and I'm not a racist, I get so sick and tired of hearing this racist card played, and sick and tired of hearing some of these colored people who call in there and they get to screaming and hollering and cursing. What I want to know is why in the world somebody, whether it's white or black, whether it's the Black Caucus themselves, don't stand up and say, Mr. Sharpton, Mr. Jackson, get back to your pulpits and preach the gospel.
So look,
the running of the country.
You're from Illinois, right?
No, Indiana.
Okay. Well, Illinois is Jackson's base. I talked to the Attorney General of Illinois about 3 months ago, and I said, why are you doing this? Why aren't you enforcing the law and looking at Jackson's books and making him itemize his travel expenditures and doing what you do to every other American citizen? The guy had no answer for it. I mean, he's hemmed and hawed, and, you know, and the federal government, the same thing. We contacted the IRS. Oh, it's a personal matter. Wait, come on. All I want is for everyone in this country to be treated equally. I want all African Americans to be treated the same way as whites. I want all Hispanics to be treated the same way. You know, that's what I'm going for here as a journalist. I don't want Jesse Jackson getting special privileges. I don't want anybody getting special privileges. I want people to come together to stop the race stuff, to put this behind them, and for everybody to have as good a life as they can have. You know, it's a pipe dream, but that's what I'm going to fight for as long as I have my pulpit.